Yeah, yo, boys. What's happening? It's Ringside Report. What's up, everybody? I'm Dave. There's
Hey,
Freddie. There's AJ. We're all here. What's going on? How's everybody doing?
bored as hell, man.
I'm
Bored as
great.
hell.
Yeah, it's kind of,
Getting fatter.
we're still in this. We're in the second month of this. I don't know how long we've been doing shows like this. Hopefully one day soon you guys can get back into the studio here, sit next to me. But until then, we're going to be doing Ringside Report like we're doing it right now, talking MMA. We got a lot of UFC to talk about, even though there's when's the last time we had a fight here? And there's not going to be another fight for, 3 weeks? It's been a long time.
Yeah, it's been a while, and you say there's a lot of MMA to talk about, and yeah, there's always MMA to talk about, but it's not like when it's active. Like there's still a lack of things happening.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean-
There's a lack of activity in the UFC, but I'm telling you, I have a lot here for us to talk about on the show. Let me just run down what we have to talk about. Justin Gaethje is saying he found out about his May 9th fight with Tony Ferguson on the internet, and he wants respect from the UFC. He's asking for a little bit of respect, and we're going to hear a little bit from Justin Gaethje, an interview. I got some audio of Gaethje for you here. UFC 249, May 9th. We have a location. We know where it's going to be. According to Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer, it's going to be at the ViStar Arena in Jacksonville, Florida on May the 9th. So it will not be held at that UFC Apex in Vegas. Apparently, it's going to be in Florida. Tony Ferguson cut weight last week for no reason in particular. Paulo Costa's doctor has been suspended by USADA, yet he claims that he will continue to use this doctor. We also have news from Francis Ngannou. Big story I want to talk about. Ngannou and Jairzinho Rozenstruik are going to fight May 9th. And Jairzinho and Ngannou both think that it should be for an interim UFC Heavyweight Championship. And we're going to talk about Stipe Miocic, the UFC Heavyweight title, and whether or not we need an interim title here coming up on May 9th. GSP's quarantine workouts have been way too hard. I want to talk about those as well. GSP is showing his workouts that he's doing on Instagram. We're going to show a couple and ask you if you can do any of them. I've seen them. I've tried a couple of them and failed miserably. We should probably do videos of me trying GSP's workouts and seeing how terribly it goes. Not too good. We should try you too, AJ, seeing how you do these workouts. I know you're going to claim that you can do them all. Sure. Tyron Woodley and Israel Adesanya are beefing on Twitter. And I also want to ask you guys what you're watching on Netflix these days. Of course, Freddie and I have been talking about the Michael Jordan documentary, the Chicago Bulls thing that's on Netflix. Everybody seems to watch it. Everybody seems to have seen the first 2 episodes at least, except for AJ. AJ hasn't seen it. He doesn't know what we're talking about. But that's okay. You can always join in on the chat. You can also super chat if you have anything you want us to talk about that I didn't mention, or something, a point you want to make, or a question you have about MMA or pro wrestling, whatever. Jump in on that super chat. Click that $sign at the bottom of the chat if you're watching us on YouTube. Anything you want us to talk about, any kind of question you have, we will be happy to answer. Guys, I want to start with the UFC Heavyweight Championship. And you see, Fred, you see what's going on here? You see how much action there is in MMA right now? Did you hear the list? There's a lot going on. I know you're skeptical, but I'm telling you, we were here 2-3 weeks ago wondering, well, what are we going to talk about when there's no fights, when the last fight hasn't been for months and there's no fight in sight? Well, we know that UFC 249 is scheduled to take place on May the 9th. And, yeah, it's been a long time since we've had a fight. The last UFC fight night was March 14th. It feels like much longer ago, right? It was only just over a month ago, but it feels like forever.
Who was fighting?
It was that Kevin Lee and Charles Oliveira fight.
Yeah,
it was in the empty arena there in Brazil. It was an empty arena show because it was just when the pandemic kind of started hitting everywhere else in the world. Gilbert Burns beat Damian Maia there by TKO. That's the last time we saw. That's the last time we saw UFC action. But May 9th, they took the whole month of April off, most of the month of March. They canceled a bunch of events, but it looks like UFC 249, May 9th, in Jacksonville, Florida. Florida is the place to be because they have ruled all sports are essential services. So if you want to do sports, go to the state of Florida because they will have you. Many other states, not too sure right now, but WWE, AEW, they continue to run weekly shows in Florida. And now the UFC, according to Dave Meltzer and the Wrestling Observer, he's saying that the UFC also go into Florida.
It's about time.
It's about time?
Yeah, that's some good. Well, it's some good news that we're gonna get some events at least. Like props to Florida. Everybody always makes fun of Florida. Hey, man, we need to get some things back going, man. So this is one time I'm not gonna make fun of Florida. I'm gonna support Florida. Good job, Florida.
Yes, we are applauding the state of Florida. We are happy that they are allowing the UFC to go there. I'm a little bit surprised that the UFC wasn't able to pull this thing off in the state of Nevada. But I guess Nevada hasn't ruled sporting events essential services, so it would be tough to get an athletic commission to work your fights. So I guess because the state of Florida has deemed it an essential service, they will be able to provide, judges and athletic commission people for those fights for the UFC.
But Dave, wasn't it the mayor or the governor or whatever from Nevada, really
the mayor
trying to
of
get
Las
this
Vegas?
Yeah, mayor of Las Vegas, whatever, trying to get this fight through, which I'm kind of surprised, being that it's the place of gambling and whatnot. I'm shocked that it didn't happen there, and I'm quite surprised that it's taking place in Florida.
Yeah, I don't know, AJ. I'm not sure if you understand how government works, but usually if the governor says you can't do something, the person that runs the whole state, one mayor doesn't have the power to change. Usually
it's Nevada, man.
That's how it works, right?
The land of sin.
It's Nevada.
I'm not sure about that.
Where the governor
I'm not
is
sure about
usually
that because
in charge.
by that logic, then Donald Trump would be supreme leader of the USA, which I think he wants to be.
Well, he kind of is, isn't he?
I don't think that's how it works, man. I'm not an expert in American law, but I think the states and the cities do have some rights.
Well, let's not forget that the state of Nevada, they are the people. It is a state athletic commission, and they run the fights, right? So if the governor, who is in charge of the state of Nevada, says no fights, no sporting events, no casinos, no nothing, well, then that's going to go down, right? The mayor can't overrule the governor in that situation.
Dave, I was
probably not, but look
go ahead, Fred.
In Michigan, there was some corona measures taken by the governor over there, and people went against it, and some sheriffs openly said that they wouldn't enforce it. So right now the governor, when it comes to sports, I would think if the governor of Nevada says no sports, well, sport is not going to be the thing where people are going to, go against the will of the government. But no, look, I'm happy that we're going to finally get some fights, and Florida is the one place where it seems to be active. The WWE have been doing their shows recently still. So it makes sense. Last week I was of the opinion it would be Nevada, and I was wrong on that one. You called it, Dave, for Florida, and that's good news. Florida's gonna benefit from this, in my opinion.
Florida seems like the place to be.
And to be honest, I really thought it would either be at the Performance Center, which would have made a lot of sense for the UFC just to host it there, or this question mark fantasy island that I was looking so forward to. A lot of fighters, we're still looking forward to where this fantasy island is and where it's going to take place, because having it in Florida, regardless, you're going to have an empty stadium. So it's just still weird, man.
Yeah.
Don't you think there's enough challenges already? There's enough challenges already. I don't think they're going to go for the fantasy island right now. I'm not saying it won't happen down the line. I'm just saying right now there's so many challenges. Fantasy Island is probably more of a fantasy than anything else.
I think it's a
Not
lot
according
easier.
To Dana.
It's going to be a lot easier for them to get a group of fighters over to Jacksonville, Florida, than it would be to some island in the middle of nowhere wherever that island may be, the Fight Island. I know AJ keeps calling it Fantasy Island, but AJ mispronounces a lot of things here on the show. He calls
Hey
Dana
man, it's a
White
fantasy.
Dana White. He says a lot of
No,
things
no,
that he
no,
shouldn't
no,
say.
no.
That's okay.
In
It's part
Ireland,
of your charm,
in
AJ.
Ireland,
It's fine. Don't worry about it.
it's okay, Dave. Listen,
It's
in
okay.
Ireland, they all agree with me. It's Dana.
I assure you that
Ireland.
not everyone in Ireland agrees with you. That would be a real scary country if they did, AJ.
Listen, Dave, don't be a hater, man. It's not all about the U.S., man. It's Dana.
What? I don't even know what to say to that. How about
Exactly.
the heavyweight champion of the world, Stipe Miocic? He's 37 years old, and he hasn't fought since August of 2019. It looks like it's going to be over a year for heavyweight title defenses for Stipe, unless the UFC announces something pretty quick. I don't see any fight for Stipe Miocic being even talked about right now. I know that there's a potential fight with Daniel Cormier. I think that is the fight to make, but I heard Stipe didn't want to take that fight. Now, Stipe's last fight was against DC. His fight before that was also against DC. And if he takes his next fight, well, it'll be 3 straight fights against Daniel Cormier. He lost the first one by knockout in the first round. He won the second one by TKO in the fourth. I thought DC was on his way to a decision victory. I thought he was winning most of the rounds in the fight where Stipe caught him, beat him, took the heavyweight title. And since then, the talk has been, well, do the trilogy fight, right? Makes a lot of sense. But Stipe doesn't seem like he wants to take the fight. Stipe had some injuries that he was dealing with. There's all sorts of stuff going on with Stipe. He wants to fight this guy or that guy, but it's never Daniel Cormier. You know, he talks about, oh, I want to fight Brock Lesnar, or I want to fight John Jones in a super fight, or I want to fight Tyson Fury in a boxing match. Stipe seems to me like a guy who's looking for a big money fight, a big payday, and you can understand why. I don't know if he's necessarily made millions and millions of dollars in one fight for the UFC. I don't know if one fight has been a money fight, despite the fact that he's fought some of the toughest heavyweights ever and has become one of the greatest heavyweight champions in the history of the UFC, you know, knocking guys out like Verdum, Mark Hunt, Dos Santos, Overeem, beating Ngannou in that war. You know, Stipe Miocic is a beast, not to mention he beat Daniel Cormier. So I get where he's coming from in, oh, I want a money fight and I want to fight this guy or that guy. And I don't know how much money the DC fight will really bring him. But at this point, he's the heavyweight champion. And when I hear Ngannou and Rosenstruck talking about, well, we think we should be fighting for an interim heavyweight title because the division isn't going anywhere, well, I get their perspective as well. So I'm not saying strip Stipe of the heavyweight title, but I am saying it might be time to start thinking about an interim title if your heavyweight champion, Stipe Miocic, is just going to be sitting on the shelf for another 6 months. I mean, at this point, we don't know, guys, right? But the UFC is, if they haven't announced anything for, you know, June, July, August, it's going to be at least a year for Stipe out of action, at least, if not more. And when you're a champion, you know, you're out of action for over a year. The rest of the division needs to kind of move on, right?
Dave, like Stipe
I kind of
said,
agree.
Sorry, go ahead, AJ.
Go, Anthony.
I was going to say that Stipe's first priority, like he's been saying, is being a first responder through this pandemic. That's his first priority. And the second problem is that he still has that eye injury. And I don't know if it's something of a bother to him or whatnot. And I don't see this guy fighting till the end of the year, where DC has actually said that he wanted to retire sometime this summer. So you've got big question marks with these two guys. And I really feel that in the heavyweight division, which is a really important division in any type of combat sport, being it boxing or MMA, the heavyweight is where it sells. And when it's laying flat like it's been for the last year, it doesn't give much opportunity for a lot of talent that's right behind those guys to get that belt. And if these guys can't fight because of whatever reason that they have, it's time to give it up And to be honest, if UFC 249, 250, 249.2, whatever it's going to be called, you have an interim heavyweight title fight, it's going to bring up that division again. And I think they should have that interim belt.
It'd be a great fight for the card. It'd be a great addition, right? An interim heavyweight title fight. And at this point, I think those guys deserve it. I think the winner of that fight deserves a title shot. So if, you want to give him an interim title, I'm fine with that because I think definitely the winner of this fight deserves to take on Stipe if DC and Stipe isn't going to happen.
I got no problem with an interim title right now. But at the same time, I would say, like, if Stipe is going to fight within the next 4 or 5 months, to me, it's another, like, unnecessary title. But there's been so many of them throughout history that I wouldn't be, we're allowed to say some words now. I wouldn't be bitching about it for any while, like, if they do an interim title between Ngannou and Rozenstruik, yeah, cool, no problem. I'm good with that. And both guys would deserve it. And like you say, Stipe's been out of action for over a year. The only thing I would say, though, is if he comes back within like 4 or 5 months, that title's a little worthless.
That's not a bad point, but at this point, he's got no fight. He's sitting around. He's not fighting. He's 37 years old. He's not getting any younger. Let's go already. Let's book this Stipe-DC fight. Let's put it together, and let's have it. I saw Daniel Cormier said, it might be fitting to end my career in an empty arena. So there you go. DC seems to be down with having an empty arena fight. Let's get Stipe on board, and let's have a heavyweight title fight this summer. What are we waiting for? If the UFC's getting back to business, let's stop talking about potential fights and maybe and ifs and all that stuff. There's no maybes and ifs anymore. May 9th, UFC is doing a fight in Jacksonville, Florida. That means they're back to business. That means we can start looking at the rest of the calendar. And I think DC and Stipe, that's a fine fight to have end of the summer. Have it in August. Have it a year removed from their last fight. Let's go. Heavyweight title on the line. If they don't give us that by the end of the summer, well, you have to start thinking about moving on from Stipe Miocic as your heavyweight champion.
Well, the trilogy would make sense. And as you said that, I'm thinking, has it ever happened that a guy has fought 3 times in a row, the same guy? Like if Stipe fights against DC again, that would probably be one of the first time. No other example come to mind. But look, DC and Stipe is the heavyweight fight to do. Like Ngannou versus Rozenstruik is a nice, sexy fight. But at the same time, let's not forget Stipe destroyed Ngannou. So, like, if Ngannou were to win an interim title, does it really mean anything when Stipe completely, like, demolished him? There's nothing to make me think that if Stipe and Ngannou fight again, the result would be different. Like Ngannou, he's a fun fighter. He's still evolving. But I don't think he will evolve to a point where he'll put Stipe in danger. I could be wrong, but like,
I'm not sure about that though, Fred. And I think age has something to do with it. Stipe at 37, I think Ngannou is younger,
34.
right? And he's 34
years.
Yeah, in like a year or two, when Stipe's like 39, pushing 40 there, and Ngannou's like 35, 36. I don't know. He's 33, AJ. He's actually going to be 34 in September. He's not even 34. So he's still, relatively young. He's got 4 years on Stipe is what I'm saying. So in 2 years, when Ngannou's 35, Stipe's going to be 39, and that makes a difference in professional fighting. A couple years ago, sure, Stipe beats him, but give Ngannou a year or two to evolve and give Stipe a year or two to get older, I don't think that it's impossible to see Francis Ngannou beat Stipe down the road. I think this guy, he's so powerful, he's so good, and he seems quite dedicated to improving. I think Ngannou's going to be a problem for a long time. I had no idea he was only 33. When you said 34, I was like, oh, yeah, that's a little young, too. I thought it was like 35 maybe. 33, man, this guy's got a lot of future ahead of him, a good amount of potential. I think he might beat Stipe one day.
Stipe is going to be here for another 3 years, so by that time, Ngannou's going to be 36 and on the downhill.
Wow, Fred, he's got no faith in Francis Ngannou.
Look,
No, I'm just
Ngannou's
saying,
he's
like,
had
Stipe dominated him still. Let's not forget that.
yeah, but it was a weird time as well because Ngannou had like two like lackluster fights. The one with Stipe, I think he went 5 rounds in the end. But the thing is that it's a different Ngannou now. Sometimes fighters have like a downfall. We've seen it with George. We've seen it with a lot of fighters. And Ngannou's come back and shown who he really was. And actually now I've been looking at his workout regimens and I've seen him like do some crazy stuff and he looks jacked, man. This guy looks solid. I saw him pick up the Shaq. He picked him up, man, by his legs and lifted Shaquille O'Neal up in the air. And Shaq came down and says, no one's ever done that to me in my life. So that just goes to show you the power of Ngannou. He's just a strong beast, and only to get stronger.
And Fred, you know just as well as anybody else that when you lose, you learn a hell of a lot. And the loss to Stipe was Ngannou's first loss in the UFC after running through the competition. He had knocked out everybody except for one where he actually beat Anthony Hamilton by submission. But everybody else, Arlovsky, Curtis Blades, Overeem, all knockout victories until he ran into Stipe, and then he lost to Derek Lewis. But you look at the Ngannou that has emerged from those two losses, the win over Curtis Blades again where he looked incredible, the win over Cain Velasquez where Cain's knee kind of blew out on him, so I don't know there. But then the win over Junior Dos Santos, I mean, he smashed Junior Dos Santos, knocked him out in just over a minute. So I think that Ngannou is a guy who is improving, and I think that down the road he's going to be a heavyweight champion of the UFC. I think it's just a matter of time. Unless Rosenstruck stops the party, which he could, because Rosenstruck is a dark horse. People don't know him. People don't think about him, but he could put anybody's lights out, and that fight is, that's fireworks right there. That's a big fight.
When a guy dominates the way Stipe dominated, it's hard for me to believe that the other guy could close that gap. But hey, if Ngannou wins this fight, he'll earn a shot against Stipe for sure at some point, another shot.
Yeah, 10-0, Jairzinho Rosenstruck. 10-0. Very difficult. 10-0. Very difficult fight for Ngannou. And if Jairzinho wins,
heavy hands.
If Jairzinho wins, then he's coming off, he'll be 11-0 with wins over Arlovsky, Overeem, and Ngannou. 3 straight in the UFC. I mean, hard not to give Jairzinho a title shot. That's why I'm saying, like, an interim championship isn't a terrible idea here.
Exactly. And these two guys, man, are too dangerous. Like, okay, Fred, I understand that Ngannou lost to Stipe, but these are two dangerous fighters in the heavyweight, and most people don't know Jairzinho, like you were saying, Dave, but you're looking at a guy who, like, destroyed Alistair Overeem, destroyed Arlovsky, destroyed Alan Crowder. Those 3 last fights were awesome. And you know what? I'm looking at Jairzinho's workout, and he's in the best shape ever. This guy's one big dude, man. I mean, I've never seen hands bigger than that guy. I mean, the guy he's looking to come to fight. He says, I don't really care about an interim title. I'm coming to fight my enemy, and that's going to be Ngannou. I'm going there to win. And this is the thing with Jairzinho. He's so underrated that he's going to be one of those dark horses that come out and eventually become the championship down the road.
Yeah, I think he's got a bright future, but he's got to get through Ngannou, and that's really the main point here. He's got to get through Francis Ngannou, and that's a big fight. Looks like it's going to happen May 9th on a pretty sick UFC card. Tony Ferguson is supposed to main event that card, and we've got a question here on the Super Chat from Patrick C. Hamilton. Thank you, Patrick. He's asking us, how are the fighters staying in shape, and what did Ferguson do to cut weight? I would imagine, to stay in shape, you're doing anything that anyone would do kind of on their own to stay in shape, especially if you're a fighter. You're going to be skipping rope. Maybe if Ferguson has access to a sauna, he used that to cut weight. Maybe he did a salt bath. I'm not really sure what methods he used to cut weight. Definitely a lot of diet, getting himself in shape, a lot of cardio, maybe putting on the plastics, doing runs around the block in the California heat. That'll drop the weight, right? Putting on that plastic suit and just running I'm sure he did a lot of that because Ferguson is a complete animal. But, yeah, that was pretty crazy. Did you guys see that? Tony Ferguson last week cut weight. He cut weight for a fight that didn't even happen. He cut weight last Friday for a fight that was supposed to happen with Khabib last Saturday. The fight, of course, didn't happen. It was a weird move, especially when he's fighting on in a month on May 9th. Like, why put your body why put your body through that? He cut 24 pounds in a week for no reason.
But at the same time, I'm going to mention again the training camps. I've been mentioning it the last couple of weeks. Like, I wonder what type of like training these guys are able to do. If most of them are like in confinement, they can't train at the level that they would usually do. Like training with 2 or 3 partners is not the same thing as like being in a big gym. At TriStar, for example, guys are training with dozens of different guys of very good level, and that's how it is in most big gyms, you know, whether it's at American Top Team or whatever. Those guys are used to training with like a lot of people of high caliber, and right now you can't tell me that Ferguson has access to like all the training partners he wants and things like that. So that's a thing that still like intrigues me. I hope it won't affect the quality of the fights we're gonna get.
Here's a picture of Tony Ferguson. Look at him. Look at him. He cut weight. This is on TMZ. Look at him. There he is. Cut weight. 155. He made 155. It's crazy.
Well,
I think
Tony
it's a smart
Ferguson's
move.
crazy.
But if you look at it, it's a smart move. He's showing that he's prepared to fight like now. And that's the thing with Tony Ferguson. He doesn't really care. He's going to make weight on May 9th. He made weight like a couple of days back. Regardless, Tony Ferguson is ready. And that's the type of player this guy is. And you're right, with the training camp, you know, Tony Ferguson doesn't always have like a huge training camp. And in fact, his training methods, like he's like a lone wolf, this guy. The way he trains at home is the way he would train to prepare for a big fight. And that's the thing with Ferguson. You know, I said it to Dave and I said it to you, Freddie. If he was fighting Khabib, would win, in my opinion. But fighting Gaethje, between these two guys, they always seem to have like last-minute fights in their careers or something weird that happens. This fight is going to be more exciting than the Khabib fight, that's for sure. The thing is that Ferguson is ready to fight a guy like Gaethje, and he's coming out, and it's going to be fireworks. And I think combined,
it just doesn't make any sense, AJ. It doesn't make any sense why he would cut weight 3-4 weeks before a fight where he's going to have to cut weight again for an interim championship. He's fighting Justin Gaethje with everything on the line, because if he wins this fight, he fights Khabib. If he loses the fight, he gets nothing. He's proving no point. All he's proving is he can make 155 pounds, which he can make. We know that, and there's no point to be made. It's just
he proves that he's a not dude.
Yeah, it's mental.
It is.
He's messing with Khabib. If anything, he's saying, Khabib, you know, look at me, I'm ready. You're not making weight, da-da-da. But I don't think Khabib cares. I think Khabib sees Tony Ferguson torture himself to make weight and say, ha, 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 look at this idiot. Why is he making weight? Like, Khabib's just laughing at Tony Ferguson. I don't think this was the right move. We'll see what happens on May 9th.
Am I the only one that's a little scared for Tony here?
Of course.
Because, look, I think Gaethje might be a bad matchup for him, because I'm not going to say worse matchup than Khabib, because Khabib has his own set of difficulties, but Gaethje, he's a good striker, and Ferguson, he likes those wars. Ferguson likes to go into a bloody fight, and is Gaethje really the guy with who you want to go into a bloody fight? Like, Gaethje has the power to hurt you also. So, yeah, anyways, I'm intrigued. It's a good fight.
It's a good fight. It's a dangerous fight for both guys.
But he does not have the wrestling skills, okay, like Tony Ferguson. Tony Ferguson's wrestling skills as a collegiate champion, as a top-level grappler, Gaethje doesn't have. So we're looking at it as a stand-up fest, which I think it will be, because Ferguson's going to go out with fists. But when the time comes and they hit the ground, Ferguson is going to tap this guy out, and that's the end of the fight. It's going to be a good fight, but
all right.
We'll see. It's going to be a Ferguson win.
I'm going with Tony Ferguson as well. Fred, are you picking Ferguson right now? I like Ferguson. I'd pick Ferguson over anybody right now, 155.
I'm still with Ferguson.
Yep.
All right, let's hear a little bit from Justin Gaethje. Let's hear how Gaethje found out about getting the fight here to fight May 9th against Tony Ferguson. Now, don't forget, Gaethje was the replacement for April 18th. He had agreed to that, but he didn't know about the change. He didn't know he was going to main event on May 9th until he read it on the internet. Here's Gaethje in conversation with Brett Okamoto of ESPN.
Same way I found out it was off on the internet. Yeah. I saw that Dana had said that he was having this card May 9th, and I was the main event. And I was like, what the hell? So, yeah, I was really, to be honest with you, I was a little bit upset because I've always told them I don't want to fight on short training camps. And they, and I don't blame them, but they had the assumption that because I was going to do it April 18th, I would be fine to do it May 9th. But, those are totally different circumstances for me. And so I really wasn't happy about it. But you go back to the drawing board and, risk versus reward. For a world title, you fight on a day, a day's notice. It doesn't matter. We're only here for one thing, and a fight's a fight. Tony's a very different breed of fighter, and, his cardio is great. So for a fight like that, you really, it's all about having the confidence to step in there. And that's all, for me, that's all comes from preparation. If I can prepare, then ultimately I don't care what happens. I know that I will give max effort because I do every time. But yeah, I was a little upset that, for one, they didn't ask me. They just kind of announced it, and it kind of puts pressure on us. Just a little bit of respect, would be great.
A little bit of respect would be great. That's all he's asking for. Just a tiny bit of respect. Isn't that wild, though, how you find out that your fight's moved? Is you just find out about it. They don't even ask you. They just kind of announce it, and you're like, oh, okay, I guess I'm fighting May 9th now against Tony Ferguson. And he's saying how he doesn't like fighting on short notice, and he feels confident as long as he has time to fully prepare. But clearly he doesn't have time to fully prepare, so I don't know how confident he's going to feel going into that fight against Tony Ferguson. Doesn't sound like a good situation for Justin Gaethje here. Doesn't make the UFC look very good when their main eventer isn't even asked if he can fight on May 9th.
Well, I think it's fair for both guys. Like, they're under the same amount of time. It's fair for both guys. With that said, it doesn't look good for the UFC the way that he found out. That's extremely unprofessional.
Well, are they under the same amount of time, though? Because, Ferguson has been preparing for a fight for a long time. Gaethje has been preparing to fight for maybe, 4 weeks?
But wasn't he supposed to fight on another date, he was saying? So,
well, no, on April 18th.
Maybe I got that one wrong.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
It was just the April 18th date, but even that fight he was taking on short notice. So, Ferguson, at least he's been in training camp for a long time. Now, he thought his fight was last weekend. That's why he cut weight last week. But nevertheless, I hope somebody told Tony that his fight's actually May 9th and he's going to have to cut weight again on May 8th. Imagine if he doesn't know either. Maybe no one told him. Gaethje found out, somebody told him, or he read it on Twitter. Ferguson's just out in the mountains somewhere doing who knows what. Maybe nobody told him he's fighting May 9th.
It is weird that the UFC would not communicate with their fighters before announcing that. Like, who knows? Justin Gaethje might have something to do that weekend. Like, it's a little bit weird that they just assume that he'll still be available.
It's very strange.
Yeah,
it's a very strange practice from the UFC.
But was it the UFC that actually put out that first message that he was fighting, or was it like some other
it was the UFC.
Network?
It was Dana announcing that they're going to be on May 9th.
Okay, well, that is a bit strange. So, if that's
a bit
the case,
strange.
That
That's
is
all you
a
have
Dana
to say?
thing.
Classic Dana, right,
what?
AJ?
Hey, listen, you got to be ready at all times, and like Freddie was saying, Gaethje was supposed to be fighting coming up soon. So if you're not in fight shape at this point, there's a problem. You got to be ready at all times, and that's what I like about Ferguson. Ferguson's ready to fight yesterday, and that's the thing with him.
You gotta live
and
to fight,
too,
Dave. That's what AJ's saying.
Live
exactly,
to fight
man.
and fight to live, brother.
Like George St-Pierre's workouts, man. What do you think he's doing those workouts for?
Oh,
He's doing it because everybody knows that those workouts are for a reason.
I want to talk about the workouts because they're wild. I also want to talk about Paulo Costa and his wizard doctor. We should also talk about the PFL. Big news from the PFL releasing a big chunk of their roster. And I want to tell you about a big guest we have for the Dave and Johnny live show tomorrow, which is going to be fun coming up tomorrow. We'll tell you about it in a little bit. But before we do, I want to tell you about our friends over at Stitcher. Hey, it's just me. At the Ringside Report, we've been producing podcasts for over 15 years, and many of you have been using Stitcher to either stream or download our shows, Wrestling Uncensored, Ringside Report MMA. Stitcher offering you, the Ringside Report Network, as part of their sponsorship of our show, a special offer on the premium version of their service. Now, besides all of our shows, you can listen to over 100,000 podcasts on your iPhone, Android tablet, PC, Amazon Echo device, or in your car, on demand, ad-free with Stitcher Premium. You get Stitcher Originals, bonus episodes, comedy albums, and more. Just $4.99 a month or $34.99 a year. What you want to do is go to Stitcher.com/premium. Go to Stitcher.com/premium to sign up today. And if you use the promo code RINGSIDE, you will get a free month of Stitcher Premium. That's Stitcher.com/premium. Promo code RINGSIDE for a free month of this awesome service. Before we move on, I did want to mention AJ's awesome, thick, luxurious beard. What is that, a Corona beard, AJ? What's going on, man? It's so thick.
Listen, I told you, I'm not going to shave it off till we get back into the studio altogether. This is going all the way, man.
Are you serious about that?
I'm serious, man. You think I was joking?
It might be a while before we get back into studio together. Your beard's going to get crazy. You're going to look like Khabib.
I shaved a week ago. I'm going to catch you. I shaved a week ago. I'm going to catch you within 3 weeks. 2-3 weeks.
What?
I'll catch you.
You think I'm going to shave it?
AJ, you're looking serious with that beard. You look badass.
I look like George Clooney, man.
Well, I wouldn't say that. But, man, it's a different look for AJ, isn't it? Like
you play with the
beard.
color or like you get the gray out?
No, I got a couple of grays in there, I noticed. That's the thing. I got to figure out how to get rid of them.
It's a very dark beard,
them out,
AJ.
man.
It's like black.
Yeah, you know.
It's good.
It is black. What do you think I have? Think I was a redhead or something?
Well, I don't know. You have no hair on your head, so I don't know what color your hair is.
Ginger.
Who knows?
Listen, this is going all the way till we meet again.
When will that be?
Is that Dave coughing? Was Dave coughing there quarantined?
Uh-oh.
We're not going to see you, Dave, for a while, it means.
I'm all right. I feel fine.
Every time somebody coughs, we're adding like a month to not seeing each other.
Can we take a bet? Can we take bets on when the next time we'll be able to sit in a room together will be? Like, when will that be?
Man,
I mean, what counts
soon.
as sitting in a room together?
Like, here. Like, you're here, AJ's here, we're back to normal. When will that be?
So if I only get to your staircase, that doesn't count?
No, you have to sit in the room. You have to sit right next to me. Right next to me here,
Okay.
Fred. And
Eating jelly beans.
And if I go like this, you can't freak out and leave the room. When will that be?
I won't. Well, I won't freak out. That I guarantee.
But you might leave
Because
the
I'm
room.
not a paranoid. No, I won't.
Well,
But you know what? I'm enjoying this setup. So like I might just get lazy and like work from home. Like this whole work from home thing, whoever came up with that, props.
Yeah, Fred's going to stop leaving his house altogether. I'll never get you back in the studio now. AJ will be here.
Man, I can't wait to be back in studio. We could go to Delalo's, get the burgers, eat jelly beans on air, pizza, the whole 9 yards.
I can't wait till Delalo's is open again. It's not even open. My favorite burger spot, Delalo's, right around the corner from me. It's not even open.
I had Dairy Queen tonight.
Oh, yeah?
What? Where are you getting all this? KFC, Dairy Queen. I'm eating like freaking
Dairy Queen has a drive-thru.
Oh, nice.
I'm getting fat, man. I'm getting fat. I need to do jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, me too. I need martial
my
arts
side
in my
control.
Life.
Like the only thing that's getting better is probably my side control because I got an extra 10 pounds to put on my opponent.
Fred used to be heavy. Now he's going to be really heavy.
Listen, man, this is a
Takes
problem for
100
everybody.
kilo to a whole new level.
Yeah, it becomes a 200 kilo.
Yeah, exactly.
But you know what? Or Neon Belly is just like fat on belly again. But the thing is this, you know what? It's tough for like jiu-jitsu is a martial art that's really hard to do if you don't have a partner. Unlike karate or kung fu, you can like get away with the Karate Kid moves and like doing all that kind of stuff. But in jiu-jitsu, man, it's hard, man. And that's the thing. We can only do our exercises and imagine in our head how we're going to wrestle people. It's tough, man. When we get back to jiu-jitsu, there's going to be a couple of guys that are going to excel because they've had a partner, like their kid or their wife or something or whoever. And the rest we're all going to be crap. I'm going to have to give back my belt.
There's going to be a lot of rust. There's going to be a lot of rust when the martial artists come back to the gyms. Maybe we'll get our buddy Glenn on the show next week or the week after. He's doing some online stuff for his gym, right? He owns a Gracie Baja Jiu-Jitsu school. We should get him on, talk about what the gym's going to look like when they come back. I know he's got all sorts of plans. He's been talking to us about that. We'll get Glenn on the show, and we'll talk to him probably in the next maybe a couple of weeks, either next week or the week after. We'll have Glenn on the show. He gave us the code for his Zoom school, right? He's got a Zoom jiu-jitsu school now, right? It's all video, all sorts of lessons going on. I haven't checked it out yet. I haven't had time, but you checked it out, right?
Dave.
Maybe we can get him on the show, and we could get him to give away a code to one of the Ringside Report universe, you know?
That's a great idea.
I want a code.
Telling you,
I didn't see that passing.
Well, I'll just give you the code, Fred. Don't worry. I'll just give it to you.
Well, listen, his workout was awesome. I was on, and I'm telling you, he had quite a few people on, and they were sweating. I'll tell you one thing with Glenn. He has a sweet setup over there, and his exercises were really good. And you know what? Good for him. He's doing it.
Well, we'll get him on the show in the next couple of weeks. Also wanted to give a shout out to a few people that are on the chat right now. My man Wally out in Ireland, Wally Byrne, Johnny North, my main man. I'll be talking to him tomorrow on Dave and Johnny Live. Woods MMA out in the UK, out in London. Shout out to you. Mad Dog Vachon, Tony K, Dwayne Skeet, Patrick Hamilton, Franco 316, Toaster Burner 35, TK. Shout out to everybody watching. Shout out to everybody on the chat. We appreciate you very much. Yeah, AJ showing a picture of my main man, Johnny North. We're going to be on Dave and Johnny Live tomorrow, 12:45, and we will be recapping the latest episode of Dark Side of the Ring that was about Dino Bravo, famous Montreal wrestler. And Dino, unfortunately, was gunned down inside his home in Laval after an incident with some cigarette smuggling. I don't know if you know the story about that, AJ, or you can shed some light on the details. Yeah. I know you didn't see Dark Side of the Ring, but I know that you know that side of the world, the dark side of the world, right? The underbelly. You're familiar with some of the characters, and Dino Bravo.
Are you profiling, Dave? You know you can't do that in 2020.
No, I just know the stories that AJ tells us, Fred. Come on. You know I know AJ, and I would never profile AJ in that way. He just tells us a lot of stories about guys from the neighborhood. Right, AJ?
From the hood.
Exactly, right. So,
listen, next time I
like
see
Marco
you,
was with a guy. Marco was with a guy before he got gunned down. He was in the same cafe, right? Your cousin? Yeah. Maybe
Muscles.
Remember that that was not long ago, and that's just one of the stories. There was a guy who was gunned down, maybe 6 months ago. He was murdered, and Marco was in the same cafe with him, not 5 minutes before he got shot up in the old neighborhood, our old neighborhood, right, AJ?
Yep. So that's the beauty about Montreal. It's it's like it takes Sopranos to a new level.
That's right. It's there's definitely part of it. Anyways, did you know, I didn't know this, Dino Bravo was Vic Catroni's nephew?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
I was going to say.
I didn't know it was his nephew. I didn't know it was that tight. My goodness. So how do you kill Vic Catroni's nephew and get away with it? Maybe they didn't get away with it. You know what I mean?
Well, you know what? There was also
was Catroni still there at that point, though?
I don't know. I don't know the timeline.
I need to watch it.
Watch it, Fred. It's
good. But But think about it. Imagine being at home and you have somebody like Bravo coming and knocking on your door and like asking for like the money
Hey.
that you owe like the family. You know.
But
He's
hey,
a good guy to do collections.
let's
I
be
tell ya,
honest.
big boy.
Like all those wrestling companies back then, like, you know, like, let's be honest, who was involved with them is probably a lot of people that are involved with local MMA and things like that.
Take it easy,
Whoops.
Fred. Take
I
it
didn't say
easy.
that.
Let's not go too far here. Let's be.
Freddie's
Don't
got
go
a
there,
point.
Fred.
Freddie's got a point.
Oh,
No, I
Freddie's got a
don't.
point, man.
No, I don't.
Now, listen,
No, he doesn't have a point. Fred doesn't know what he's talking about. Anyways, tomorrow.
Freddie knows, man.
Yeah, I know
knows.
Freddie knows. Freddie knows too much, if you know what I mean. So forget about it. Listen, tomorrow on Dave and Johnny Live, we're going to recap the Dino Bravo episode of Dark Side of the Ring, and we're also going to talk to wrestling historian Pat LaPrade, who was on the episode of Dark Side of the Ring. He was actually
I've
on
interviewed Pat LaPrade
You have,
in
yeah?
French a long time ago.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah,
I'm going to talk
a
to him
long
in
time.
English on Dave and Johnny Live tomorrow. We've never spoken to him before, and he was on the episode of Dark Side of the Ring, and I think he's got an Andre the Giant book that is
What?
either coming out or out now. Pat will tell us about it tomorrow on Dave and Johnny Live, so definitely watch that. We're going to recap the Dino Bravo episode with somebody that was on the episode, which is pretty cool.
That's cool, man.
We've been recapping these episodes, but we haven't had anybody that was on the episode yet. So this will be a first for our Dave and Johnny Live Dark Side of the Ring recap. So that'll be fun tomorrow with Pat LaPrade on Dave and Johnny Live.
Wow, I'm gonna have to watch it.
12:45 Eastern, right here on the YouTube channel. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and when you do, click the bell so you get notifications every time that we're on, right? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
Dave, you know what? I'm gonna have to watch this now because I have a few questions to ask him tomorrow
Okay.
about
Well,
the
yeah.
underworld.
Yeah, if you have questions for Pat LaPrade, definitely jump on the chat tomorrow at 12:45. He's going to be on right at the top of the show tomorrow, so jump on with us and ask your questions. If you have any questions for him, you have any questions for us, always jump on that chat or jump on the Super Chat as well and keep it going. Like Wally jumped on the Super Chat. He says,
Wally!
shout out to Waylon Jennings. Drop the Super Chat just to shout out Waylon Jennings. And yes, thank you, Wally. Shout out to Waylon
Wally!
Jennings. I love Waylon Jennings. Fred does too. We love Waylon music. And just a little fact for you guys. It is the 23rd of April, and on the 26th of April, we lost one of the greatest singers of all time. The great George Jones passed away on the April the 26th, 2013. So it's been 7 years this Sunday since we lost the great George Jones. So definitely drink some Tennessee whiskey for your man George Jones this weekend. Shout out to George Jones and all the great George Jones songs that I love so much. I love that guy. Fred,
Hey,
you like George Jones, Fred?
You know what?
Yeah, I do.
He's
like some
he's my
George
favorite.
Jones.
I love that guy.
Yeah, but you know what kills me is that you didn't mention anything when Kenny Rogers passed away. Come on, Dave.
Yeah, I don't know,
Kenny
man.
Rogers.
I'm not a big
gotta
Kenny
know when to
Rogers
hold
fan.
it.
I like George Jones, brother.
Blasphemy. Blasphemy.
I posted a
Rogers
George
is
Jones,
like an
Tammy Wynette video on my Twitter this week. I don't know if you noticed
First
that.
of all,
I
it's
just
not
drop those
Waylon.
sometimes.
Dave, first of all, it's not Waylon. In Ireland, they call it Wyland. So it's Wyland, just so you know. I want to
Get the
just
fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here, bro.
Wyland, man. Listen, Wally will tell you that.
You know
I'm
what?
sorry, bud.
You know what? I'm gonna read an ad, and just not because I have to, but just because I want to make you disappear. Okay? How about that? I'm gonna tell you about our friends at IP Vanish. I made AJ vanish. These days, security on the internet is a concern. Identity fraud, theft, and privacy are major preoccupations that hackers are at home to with time on their hands now. They've got nothing to do than to try and attack you. Hackers are spending their days lurking to find someone that they can attack. They can get access to all of your stored information, passwords, credit card. Keep them out with IP Vanish. You need a VPN, and IP Vanish now, until the end of the month, just 73% off. Incredible deal. Instead of $143.88 a year, pay just $39 for your first year with IP Vanish, and they'll throw in $250 of gigabyte secure cloud storage. That's some that's a great deal from IP Vanish. You can back up all your important data to the cloud at no extra charge. This is an outstanding deal for the Ringside Report universe. We need you to stay healthy and secure. That's why we recommend what we use, IP Vanish. What you want to do is you want to sign up right now. Open a browser window. Go to vpn.ringsidereport.net. vpn.ringsidereport.net. If you sign up for a subscription that'll include a 7-day money-back guarantee using our link, the Ringside Report Network will receive a small commission that'll help us produce more content. Remember to use that link, vpn.ringsidereport.net. Guys, Paulo Costa's doctor. Let's talk about Paulo Costa's wizard doctor, okay? Dr. Lucas Henschel of Belo Horizonte, Brazil, was given a 2-year suspension by the U.S. Anti-Doping Agency for administering prohibited IV fusions to Paulo Costa and his brother Carlos. I didn't know Paulo Costa had a brother who fought too, but there you go, Carlos Costa. Costa says that Dr. Henschel is a wizard and he will remain his doctor. Now, Paulo Costa doesn't really pass the eye test, and now he's got a doctor that's been suspended by USADA. Come on, Paulo Costa. What's the deal here, guys?
Is he at least a real doctor?
I don't know. He was suspended
because I mean, like,
I think so. I'm not sure. He was suspended by 6 months. Paulo Costa was by USADA for these IVs, right? And then he was fined and suspended for a while. He was fined for 6 months, and now the doctor who administered those illegal IVs has been banned by USADA for 2 years now. So you're not allowed. This is something you used to be able to do after cutting weight. You used to be able to rehydrate with the use of an IV. That's not legal anymore. Paulo Costa did it anyways, and he got caught.
What does it mean a doctor gets banned by USADA? What does that mean? He's not allowed to work with fighters? Like, what does
not
it mean?
allowed to work with fighters maybe on fight week?
In the UFC.
In the UFC at all? Well, how come Paulo Costa said he's still going to use him then?
He could use him outside of the UFC event or leading up to the event, but he's suspended till March 17th, 2022.
Yeah.
And then he's allowed to work with the UFC. But
he's suspended for in competition. He can't be around when the fighters are in competition, in training camp, or especially at the events, the event weekend, right? Fight weekend.
Right. And the thing is that he was suspended not because of the IV. He was suspended because the doctor authorized, outside of like the norms of SADA, basically a stomach pill that was called Placil. And Placil is basically, I don't know if it's like an antacid or whatnot, but it's a doctor-prescribed medication that he took after the weight cut. He had stomach problems and whatnot. So it was really because of that where Costa's upset. He's saying that they suspended the doctor and they took him away from the fight because of the stomach pill, more than the IV. And that was the thing. And I think he got fined like $9,000 for that, which he never paid, to be honest. He's never paid that fine.
Okay, well, whatever it is, it seems like there's some shady things going on with Paulo Costa and his doctor. I don't know, man. You start to wonder.
Well, start to wonder. I mean, like, you just have to look to Paulo Costa and wonder, does he pass the eye test? Like, I don't need the shady doctor test. Paulo Costa doesn't pass the eye test. Like,
there's just sure, but you've seen a lot of guys pass the eye test, but then or not pass the eye test, but still pass the drug test, right? Paulo Costa has a strike against him. He's been suspended by USADA. Now his doctor's been suspended by USADA, and Paulo Costa's sticking by him. There's just a lot of strikes against Paulo Costa now, and they just keep adding up. When a guy shows up looking jacked, there's not much you can say, but then when he gets suspended by USADA and then his doctor gets suspended, well, then there's more ammunition there against Paulo Costa. And for Paulo Costa's opponents, too, Israel Adesanya has already accused him of steroid use. No doubt when they actually do fight, when the UFC signs those two for a bout, as Adesanya is going to be talking about the doctor, going to be talking about steroids, and he's going to have a lot of ammo now to go at Paulo Costa. It's just crazy stuff, man.
Costa
like you would think, if I had a doctor who got suspended by USADA, I'd be like, yeah, I don't know that doctor. I don't know that guy. I don't know. I'd still use him for sure because he's going to help me win. But publicly, I wouldn't be like, the guy's a wizard. He's a genius. I'm going to use him forever. USADA's wrong. I'd be like, yeah, I don't know this guy. What are you talking about?
In football, Tom Brady has a famous doctor that's not a doctor. He's actually a alternative medicine practitioner. So like all these athletes are trying to find they're trying to find the edge. Like let's not lie to ourselves, man. There's so much money to be made and all that. Of course these guys are going to try to get an edge. And as far as Costa, I mean, like I said, he doesn't pass the eye test. So this won't be the last time. Like Costa is in that group of like Yoel Romero, Brock Lesnar, guys that you just look and you go like, I'm sorry, I got some questions. Like I just do. I'm not just going to act. I'm not going to keep my mouth shut until you fail a test. I got some questions. That's all.
But Freddie, you're right. And the question is, how do they manage to pass the test? So there is some kind of wizardry that's going on, because if you look at Paulo Costa, he makes weight at 185. He makes weight at 185, and the day after, like right after weigh-ins, he's hitting like 205 plus pounds. This guy is like,
if you look
doesn't make sense.
Well,
if you look at the history
of
drug,
an IV, that's how he's doing it. How is he weighing in at 185, and then the next day when he fights, he's like looking jacked and rehydrated? Well, he's using an IV. He's cheating, AJ. That's how he's doing it. He's cheating. He was cheating.
I know, but...
And I'm going to say, let's look at the history of performance-enhancing drugs. Like, guys don't get caught on the spot. Most of them get caught years after. Like, if you look at the Ben Johnson example, on that starting line of the 100 meters, out of the 8 guys, if you look with the years after that, 7 of the 8 ended up testing positive throughout their career. But on that night, only Ben Johnson tested positive. So, like, guys, you know, they don't get caught now. They get caught later when, you know, the information comes out. Often it's because somebody rats them out. It's deeper than just like, why don't they get caught? You know, to me, it's a complicated world.
Freddie, it's just like cycling. If you look at cycling, I mean, the loopholes and the methods that they've done, I mean, they went to like extremes where they were injecting bloods from training methods in high altitudes and putting it back into the cyclists. I mean, like, there's a whole science that is like so mind-boggling. I think it was Icarus too. I saw that movie and I was like, what the hell? I mean, it is a business, and people are investing in these athletes like
at the same time, watch the documentary. Watch the documentary on A-Rod where he's just going in some shady clinic in Miami. Like, these guys are just trying to get an edge, man. These guys are not rocket scientists. Most of them are just looking to get an edge.
Freddie, I was going to say a quick story with one of the twins. One of the twins told me this. He was in Russia teaching jiu-jitsu, and he was working with this camp. And he's not like a professional fighter. He's a top-level jiu-jitsu guy. But their camp consisted of all types of medical doctors and whatnot. And he was feeling a bit tired and whatnot. And he asked one of the therapists there, like, you know, what can I do to get like some energy? And he's like, okay, I'm just going to get you to my doctor over here. He went to see the doctor. The doctor just stabbed him with like an injection in his butt and says, you're okay. And he's like, what the hell? What did you inject me with? He goes, don't worry, you'll be okay. And apparently, like, if we can have one of the twins on again, they'll tell you that his energy levels went from like 0 to like to the top, and when they did testosterone level tests after that, he was like testosterone like of a 17-year-old again. So I'm telling you, man, it's like what we say here is like completely normal, like at some parts of the world. I mean, it's insane.
Yeah, well, yeah, for
sure.
You
just ask you again.
And you're talking about Russia, you know, if you want to watch a good documentary on that, you ever seen Icarus? That's on Netflix. Have you guys seen that?
Insane.
Yeah, that's a crazy one as well on, you know, doping and drugs in Russia, you know, performance-enhancing drugs. And, yeah, people do them because they work. They give them an edge. Wally sending us a super chat. He says, AJ's beard passes the eye test. Slick. So he's not only giving the super chat and helping us continue to do more content, but he's also giving you a nice compliment there, AJ. He likes the beard.
Thanks,
I agree. I like the beard, too. Wally. I think you look good with the beard.
AJ looks like the most interesting man in MMA.
Yeah, he looks cool. No, you know who the most interesting man in MMA is? GSP, okay? He does things that no one can do.
He doesn't have a beard.
No, but he's GSP. He's very cool. Now, GSP does these workouts. He's been showing us to, like, you know, stay in shape in the quarantine. And when GSP first announced that he was doing this, I was like, cool. This is going to be cool. I can do this. I'll see what GSP does, and I'll follow along. And every day I'll try and do what GSP does, and I'll see how I do. And then I saw what GSP was doing, and I was like, I can't do this. Who can do this? I don't know who. He's like, all right, guys, who's ready for another
Very
round?
few people.
Let's do this. Let's try this out. Now, let me show you what GSP is doing. And then, AJ, you tell us that you can do it because I know you're a big liar and you'll tell us you can do it. Look at this.
I could do it.
You can't do that.
Man.
He's moving and kicking.
I could do that too.
He's
like
moving on
life,
one foot and kicking. There's no way you can do that. Get the fuck out of
I
here.
can do it like off the ground. I'm doing it. I'm gonna do it.
It looks like
and
he's
I'm
doing
gonna do it to the
cinematics for a video game.
It's
You know, like if you wanted to do a perfect video game character, that would be GSP.
How is he doing that? That's ridiculous. I can't do that. And there's more.
What are you talking about?
You can do that right now. Get up.
I
Do it
can't
right
get up.
now.
My ass is stuck to the floor right now.
Do it right now.
Dave.
Look, I
I
just
can't
full,
do it in this house.
I made you full screen. Do it right now. Get up.
I can't get my leg up. Look.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
see my leg here?
You can't even stop showing me your leg. No one wants to see that. You can't do
Wear
it.
some pants.
Yeah, wear some pants, AJ.
Oh, did you see it?
Why aren't you wearing pants? See, you can't do it. You can't do any of this
What are you
stuff.
talking about?
You want to see another GSP Impossible workout? Here's another one. Let's show you another one because they're just all crazy. I can't do any of these.
What are they? Prison workouts?
I don't know. What's he doing here? Oh, that. Well, I can't do that. Can you do that? He's touching his
I used
toes
to.
while doing that. Look, he's looking at you, just taunting you. Look at me. I'm GSP. Look what I can do.
How come he has no furniture, poor George?
Yeah, how come he has got no furniture? That's another thing I
Poor
noticed.
Georgie has no furniture.
Well, I got the same question for that Michael Jordan documentary. Everybody they interviewed was like in an empty house that looked humongous.
Like, what's up with that?
What's
he
this
wearing?
now?
Royer.
What's he doing here?
What is
Can I do
this?
this?
The beginning is super impressive here. This to me is super impressive.
I think I could do that.
Yeah, that's pretty
What?
impressive.
No, I can't do
That's
what?
That?
What?
You could do that?
That's
No,
No,
I
I
can't.
can't
Von
do
Dam.
that. I could do that probably.
Listen, man. Georgie's
Yeah.
stealing
But
that
not.
from George.
Oh no. Are you kidding me? Get out of here.
Dave, he's stealing that from Jean-Claude Van Damme, man. That's like BBC stuff, man.
That's wild, man. I can't do any of that shit. He just pisses me off.
What if
I'm
he
just like,
falls,
come on,
man?
George. Why are you doing stuff that's so hard? Give me something a little easier. Give me something that I could actually do.
That
And then
was
he's-
impressive.
And then
That
he's
last one.
stealing our gimmick too. That's another thing that
He's
pissed me
stealing.
off watching George's
What do you
Instagram.
do?
Look, he's got Nerf guns
Oh,
now.
come on.
Look, he's
Are
got
you
like a
kidding
whole
me?
Nerf gun challenge thing that he's doing. Hey, look at me.
He
I'm
stole that
shooting.
from us.
Yeah, he's shooting Nerf guns
Dave.
now on Instagram.
Dave,
I don't
Hey,
think you
we
want to
gotta
go to
do it
war
with
with GSP, man.
I'm going to
Oh,
war
I'm
with.
going.
I'm going to
I
Nerf
am.
war with GSP. Look at
What's
him.
up with his butt?
Look, he's playing with Nerf
That-
guns again in a completely
Where's that-
empty house. He's got no furniture. Why does he have no
What the
furniture?
hell?
And he's shooting
Yeah,
Nerf
having
guns.
like sex
Boom.
parties.
I don't know
That
what's
is
going on.
us. Georgie, you know Georgie stole that from us.
I mean,
Because
we have
you-
been
of
using
course.
Nerf guns and MMA in Montreal for a very long time. Now, all of a sudden,
What is my
George is
Nerf
on an Instagram, using Nerf guns, and come on, man.
That's not cool.
That's
That's
bullshit,
not
George.
cool, man.
He's stealing our
You know
Nerf
that,
gun
George.
gimmick. We love you, George, but goddamn, man, if you're going to play with Nerf guns, at least come on the show and talk about Nerf guns with us.
You
Bullshit,
know
man.
why he got that? Because when James was on,
Come
we
shoot
were shooting
AJ
off
with
the
us.
gun.
That's true.
Oh man, that's it.
Totally ripped off.
James Mancini was on. We had the Nerf gun. You know George was watching. George, admit where you found that idea from. It's from Ringside Report. Except I got shot the most. That's what I miss about our studio. We can't shoot each other.
I know. It's too bad, man. Now, Fred, you were talking about that Jordan documentary. It's pretty good. But you know what pissed me off about that thing? I watched the first episode. I'm like, cool. Watch the second episode. I'm like, all right, cool. And I was ready for the third one, and it wasn't there. It's like, hey, Netflix, don't you understand your business model? You're supposed to put on a whole season of a show, and then we watch it all at once. That's how Netflix works. You don't just put 2 episodes on every week for like a couple of months. That's bullshit, Netflix. Give me what I want. I'm sitting at home. I got nothing to do, and you're going to do this goddamn Jordan documentary 2 fucking episodes at a time? No. Give me everything at once, Netflix. What are you doing, Ted Sarandos,
I'm going to go the opposite way. I'm going to go the opposite way. I'm going to say thank you for spreading this in this time where I'm just stuck here and bored. Like, if you would have given it to me, I would have watched it in 10 hours in a row. Looked awful the next day. Whereas now I just watch 2 hours a week. We talk about it. It was incredible. Like, I was pretty young when those Jordan years happened, but I still remember them. But now, being older, you get them from another perspective, seeing like the inside of like the coaching. Not like when do you hear of a coach not having a contract where the guy, is told like you only have a year left to coach and things like that. So it's been a very good documentary as of yet. Also, young Michael Jordan.
General manager comes off looking like a dick.
Yeah, he does. But at the same time, he's not here to defend himself. And he built some championship team. So, like, and in those days, like, let's be honest, sports was like that in a lot of ways. Like, sports was a ruthless business not so long ago. The players have gotten so much more power within the last 25 years that in the past, yes, they were making good money and all that, but they didn't have the power that they have now. So it was a great documentary, and I also love that scene where Jordan, he's a rookie, and he talks about going into that hotel room, and the guy's doing a bunch of blow, and like Jordan, he's focused, and they're like, no, that's not for me.
Yeah, he's like over here, they're doing the lines, over there, they're smoking weed, over there, there's a bunch of ladies, and I'm like, I'm leaving this room because if I'm in this room with everybody else, I'm as guilty as everybody else, and I'm getting busted. And Jordan's like, I'm getting out of here. Fred, your attitude would be like, let me jump into this party. But, Michael Jordan, I think, went the right way because it turned out pretty well.
I'd be which line is the lowest, the smallest? Which line is the smallest? I'm not talking about the Coke here.
Mike,
because I want the biggest of that one.
Mike was on the court. Mike was on the golf course, and it all turned out very, very well for Michael Jordan. I've never seen an athlete.
Space Jams?
Of course he did Space Jam. I've never seen an athlete like magical like Michael Jordan. I've never seen a greater athlete than Michael Jordan. I think he's the greatest athlete I've ever seen. It's great. I'm fascinated by everything about him, everything he does. It's just there was something about Michael Jordan. He could take a whole team on his back, just win games through sheer will and magic. Like, just the way he would go around players. He'd be like 5 guys up against him, and he would like have the ball here, and then he'd move it around, and then he'd flip it this way, and it would just go in the net because he was magical. I've never seen an athlete in any other sport be as consistently perfect and beyond great. Like, not even great. Like, incredibly great.
I would say...
And has anybody been this as great as Michael Jordan at any sport ever?
Well, think about guys like
I don't know. We just saw GSP.
Think of guys like Pele. Yeah, GSP, Muhammad Ali. I mean, they weren't. Muhammad wasn't a team sport, but he had a team behind him. But the thing is that we had a lot of greats. Wayne Gretzky. Come on, man. Davey, let's
in the next couple of weeks, look at the focus of Michael Jordan in training. This guy is one of the hardest worker. I've always heard guys saying like this guy is about hard work. And the same thing with GSP. GSP is about hard work. So maybe it's not the exact like compare, like GSP is not really Jordan or Jordan's not really GSP, but both of them excelled at their sport, and the reason they excelled is because they took their craft seriously.
Yeah, I think GSP is the closest thing to a Michael Jordan that we've seen in MMA. But
think about guys like Gretzky.
George was amazing and an incredibly hard worker and the greatest MMA fighter of all time. But he didn't have the magic that Michael Jordan had. Michael Jordan had that something else where he could turn on a switch and be not only better than everybody else, but 100 times better than everybody else. George... when he fought, he looked better than his opponent, but he looked better by 2 or 3 times. Not like 100 times better where it was like, what the hell is this? Like, Anderson Silva sometimes went into fights where it looked like he was so much better than his opponent. It was kind of like, why is this guy even here with Anderson? For George's fights, especially when he was a champion, he had some close fights. He won them mostly on decision. Jordan, he didn't win by decision. The Bulls fucking knocked people out and won NBA championships,
There's no doubt about it. I haven't seen this documentary.
It's
but
badass.
I'll tell you one thing. Jordan revolutionized like a lot of things. Everything from like sportswear to you name it. I mean, it's all about Jordan. He made the Bulls, and like he's forever going to be
But
the
at the
greatest
same
basketball
time,
player that lived.
before Jordan, before Jordan, there was a time where the NBA was like on tape delay, even for the NBA finals, like they weren't played live on TV. So Jordan and before him was Bird and Magic. They brought the mainstream to their sport, and that's where I think we gotta look a little bit more of GSP is like the impact that he's had on his sport in MMA, which of course is not Jordan. Jordan is like there's not a lot of athletes that have become billionaires, and Jordan is
That's
one of
it.
them. The
People
the other
aren't going
one
to be
might be
wearing,
Tiger Woods, like
but no,
exactly.
I mean, you look at Jordan and the Jordan brand, the shoes, the clothes, all of that.
Yeah,
It's still
sure.
very popular. He hasn't played basketball
But
for what, 20 years? Like no other athlete has ever done that. There's no other athlete that's been a fashion icon for 20 years after retirement. I mean, that says a lot about who Michael Jordan was and the type of cultural icon that he was. And I'm seeing people say, "Oh, Tom Brady or Wayne Gretzky." Look, they're great.
yeah,
they're
Wayne
very
Gretzky
they're
is
very good at their sports, but they're not Michael Jordan. It's a different level of superstar that I've never seen surpass, never even come close in my lifetime as far as stardom and ability to win consistently and be the star and be the top guy on the team every year, every time, MVP every time. Michael Jordan was the man. Nobody has ever been
yeah,
as great as Michael Jordan, and
but
the impact of Jordan still, it's crazy.
yeah, but let me tell you something. I'm on two notes. One, Gretzky. Gretzky was like the greatest Canadian hockey player, but him going to Los Angeles brought the game of hockey to a level that the U.S. never had. So you got to look at the contributions that Gretzky has done as a star player.
I'm not
Hockey's still
saying
not popular in the
I'm not
U.S., man.
saying that other
But
athletes
he
haven't
brought.
made contributions to their sport. I'm just saying that Michael
But
Jordan's were greater.
But I mean, exactly.
but if you
Let's
look at
let's just
George
watch
St.
that.
Pierre,
Let's just listen to what you said, AJ. Gretzky did a lot of good things for hockey, but let's be honest, man. Basketball is at another level than hockey
for sure.
internationally in the U.S., and Jordan is the reason
Right.
for that. So you can't even compare Gretzky to Jordan.
Watch the episode when
I'm,
Jordan
Like
I'm not
Jordan
gonna
is
compare,
another
but
Watch
class.
the episode when Jordan goes to Paris. See Jordan in France and the impact that he had. It was like madness. It was like the Beatles showing up when Michael Jordan went to Paris for that game. Go watch the thing on Netflix.
I was wondering
AJ,
what
and
type
come
of
back to me.
shitty locker room they were in. Like I was like, where are these guys dressing up? Like it looked awful in
Guys,
Paris.
I want to get back to some MMA just before we wrap up the show. The PFL says they're releasing a third of their roster, which is rough. PFL, remaining fighters are going to be given $1,000 a month. So the 2/3 that remain on the roster are still going to get paid $1,000 a month, which isn't a ton, but at least they'll get
big deal.
some money.
What?
Oh, it's better than nothing, man.
$250 a week, man, to survive
Yeah, well,
and not be able to
yeah, it's not good.
save. I don't know if it's such a great deal.
Look, man, they're giving their fighters something. It's better than releasing all their fighters, right? The PFL,
but
because listen, they've canceled their 2020 season. They're not doing business this year, and they hope to return in the spring of 2021. So if you're a guy like Rory McDonald or Olivier Aubin who just signed with the PFL, you're not looking at a fight until spring of 2021. You're a pro MMA fighter. That's no bueno.
It's not bueno at all, and that's the thing. And you're not able to fight for any other organization till your contract ends. So what are you going to do as a fighter? I mean, you're going to be training with no fights ahead of you. You know what? The PFL did a nice gesture, but in the end, $250 a week for a fighter is absolutely nothing when you can't fight till sometime in April of 2021. How does that make sense? And everybody disses the UFC and like how the UFC is this and the UFC is that. But you know what? I don't know. You tell me if the UFC is that bad. I think the PFL, it's like the guys that got terminated, I think they have a better opportunity. At least they can fight in some other division if things open up in September. But the rest of the fighters are screwed till next April, man. That's
I'm
a
gonna
year
say
from now.
something very. I'm gonna say something that's not very popular, but I hope this tragedy that is the coronavirus happening to everyone worldwide is gonna be still a lesson for people to like prepared himself for the future in general. I think too many people live day by day and are not prepared for like losing their job or losing their revenue. And it's unfortunate. We're gonna see so many stories like that of people going broke, whether it's like companies that have to lay off people or those people not being able to pay their bills. So if anything, once like we get some sort of stability in this world, I hope people are gonna, think of the future, like put some on the side for the darker days, man, because it's important. Like government cannot be there forever to save you. And look, unfortunately, your employer, if he's losing some money at some point, he's gonna be doing some cuts. Like that's just a sad reality.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
No, for
and
sure, Freddie.
Fred, you're definitely right. And if you can do that, that's great. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people who have no choice but to live paycheck for paycheck, right? Some people are in some low income situations and they really have no choice. But if you can afford to save, save. Definitely have that money for the rainy days, because the rainy days are here and you got to be prepared, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'm just like I completely agree with what you just said. Life is not easy for a lot of people. Budgeting is not easy. The revenues are not high. I'm just saying try to get your mentality to think that I need to think of myself like in the future. And it's not easy, but just like let's not act like this cannot re-happen. Like in 10, 20 years we might not we might have a new like crisis like that, and hopefully people will be a little bit more prepared.
Well, I tell you what, I'm always going to have a stockpile when this thing is over and I can buy Purell and Lysol wipes again in the stores for a reasonable price. I will always have a stockpile of that shit in my house, and toilet paper and all of that stuff. I'm always going to have
toilet paper. I don't understand.
I don't know. I still have a bunch. I'm not worried about it, but I'm saying I'm always going to have a stockpile of Lysol wipes, hand sanitizer, toilet paper, and whatever, just in case in a closet somewhere in my house. After this whole debacle, that's what it's taught me. Make sure you have a stockpile of some of those necessities just in case shit goes wrong. And maybe some dried food, some non-perishable food for a while stockpiled. Cans, whatever, beans, whatever you got. Some things that you can have handy just in case the fucking apocalypse comes.
I don't understand what's up with the toilet paper, man, because every time I go to the grocery store now, they only have like one brand and it's super expensive. Like all of a sudden the production, I don't know what happened or whatever. But anyways, toilet paper is like gold these days.
Is it? Because I got some extra. I don't want to sell it to anybody. I want to price gouge, but
it's $8.99 for 8 rolls. It's more than $1 a roll. It's crazy.
Oh, that's not good, because my rule is, I have a little math algorithm for toilet paper. I'll tell you guys off the show. I don't want to give away my secrets because I have toilet paper secrets that I can't give away. I'll tell you guys, but only in confidence, and you got to promise not to tell anybody, including your family, or I will kill you. Guys,
serious business,
I want to give a shout out to. I want to give a shout out to TK. He says he's big fans of us. He says, big fans of you guys, been listening for 10-plus years. First time tuning in on YouTube. Keep it up, boys.
What?
Well, thank you, TK. I'm happy that you're watching us finally on YouTube after listening to us for so many years. Thank you for, the years of support. Thank you to everybody for being on the show. Thank you for hitting up the Super Chat. Wally, my main man. Patrick C. Hamilton as well. Shout out to you, TK, for joining us for the first time. Wally, Woods MMA, my man out there in the UK. Johnny North, I'll see you tomorrow for Dave and Johnny Live. Dave and Johnny Live, we will be talking about the dark side of the ring with Dino Bravo, the Dino Bravo story, and we'll have Pat LaPrade, who was on the episode of Dark Side of the Ring, with us tomorrow on Dave and Johnny Live to recap that episode. Fred was flashing some stuff there. What you got there, Freddie? You got some herbage? What you got?
This one is new, and it's the first time I try it. It's called Jack Hayes. It's pretty fun, pretty good.
Freddie, listen.
Oh, is it?
First of all, Dave,
is it good? That's funny. That's funny, Fred, because I got some too.
Oh.
Are they sponsoring our show?
How did you like it?
Look, it's unopened. I haven't tried it yet. Maybe I'll have some as soon as we wrap up the show. You say it's good? This is Fred's recommendation.
Yeah,
I just
like
bought
it.
some yesterday. Well,
Freddie,
look at that,
Freddie,
Fred.
hold on.
We have the same
This
weed.
is
I feel
ultra sour.
now. See, I don't have ultra sour, but what I do have,
Get them to
I have-
sponsor the show, man.
I have this. This is called Limelight, and it's actually ultra sour. It's the same thing. It's just by Edison, and they have a different name. But on the side, it says ultra sour. It's what's your percentage on your ultra sour? Mine is 20.1%, Fred. 20.1% Limelight from Edison.
See what?
Mine says 25.
What? Damn. And I see that Dubon Jean-Guy. I have my Dubon Jean-Guy too, bro. I've got it too.
What the hell?
Yeah, so do I.
See,
Guys,
Fred and I,
Jabon White Widow.
Fred and I both know the
Jabon
good
Mango.
stuff. Fred and I know that
Listen.
good stuff, bro.
Listen, I'm sure Johnny agrees with me. If you guys want to use it, fantastic. But get them to promote the show, man.
Chocolate fondue.
Really? Dr. Fondue?
Yeah, it's all good stuff, bro. It's all good stuff. And even the Trailer Park Boys are getting in on the weed game. I don't know if you guys saw
What?
this. They've got their own weed. Look at that.
No. What?
A Totoso Indica Trailer Park Buds, and it's on sale at Cannabis NB. That's in New Brunswick, and I'm assuming it's going to be in Nova Scotia too. Hopefully, I can go to Nova Scotia this summer. I could take a trip, and I could go buy some of the Trailer Park Buds from the Trailer Park Boys, one of my favorite shows ever.
That's $159, man.
Well, for 28 grams.
Is that expensive?
Yes.
Actually, no. Well, 150.
How much you said?
It's hold on. It's
Yeah, it's
159, 160 for an ounce. Compared to most weed prices at the stores, that's actually a pretty good deal, right?
Yeah.
Compared to what other
Compared
things
to
cost.
yeah.
Not the kind of person to say a toe-to-so, but you know what? A toe-to-so.
What happened?
A fucking a toe-to-so.
A fucking
I like
Totoso.
that.
Not the kind of person to say a toe-to-so, but you know what? A toe-to-so. A fucking
A
a toe-to-so.
toe-to-so.
That's right. That's what the weed is named after. That quote by Ricky. He tried to say "I told you so," but you know, Rickyisms. He said a Totoso. I'm not the kind of person to say a Totoso, but a Totoso. A fucking a Totoso, Julian.
So why'd you get them to promote
Sexy
our show,
Julian.
Dave?
Who, the Trailer Park Boys?
Yeah,
I don't
man,
think
you
they're
want me to
still in
call them?
business. Yeah,
I'll call
call them and see if we can get their weed to promote our show. I don't think that's how these things work, AJ. I don't even think that's legal. But hey, you go and try to do some illegal things, some cross-provincial drug trafficking. You go ahead,
What?
AJ, but let's not talk about it on YouTube, okay? Thanks, everybody, for watching. Thanks, everybody, for being on the Super Chat. Jump on tomorrow. We're going to have a big show, Dark Side of the Ring, the Dino Bravo story recap. This was a Montreal legend. We're going to have a Montreal wrestling historian, Pat LaPrade, on to talk about it with us. We're going to have a Montreal wrestling legend of today, Johnny North, on the show to talk about it. I am a Montreal wrestling connoisseur. I've been around for a long time, and I'm from Montreal. So there you go. You really couldn't get a better Dark Side of the Ring Dino Bravo recap than what you're going to get on Dave and Johnny Live tomorrow. As far as Montreal wrestling, you got me, you got Johnny North, and you got Pat LaPrade, all three of us together talking about Dark Side of the Ring, the Dino Bravo story. That's good shit, pal. It's good shit, pal. It's going to be good tomorrow. So looking forward to it. Hope you tune in right here on the YouTube channel. Make sure to like the video, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel, and when you do, leave a comment, and also click the bell so you get notifications every time we're on. Follow Fred on Twitter at FreddyMMA. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DaveSimonMMA. And follow AJ, the handsome man with the beard over there, at Dan
thought
E.
so.
Bruck. Looking like Hulk Hogan in 1997 with that beard, AJ.
Really?
Yeah, kind of. Like, Hollywood Hogan. You know what I'm saying, Fred?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks, everybody, for watching. Thank you. Good seeing you, boys. I always love it.
Love you,
I'm
boys.
talking to you, Fred, AJ. I miss my friends stuck indoors, quarantining, and whatever. Thanks, everybody. This has been Ringside.
Report.
Port.